You're standing on that showroom floor right now. The key fob is warm in your hand. That big glowing touch screen just lit up, silent and smooth, and the salesman is smiling because he already knows you're going to sign. You think you just bought the future. Let me tell you what I've watched roll into my bay instead. I've been turning wrenches for over 30 years. I've had the hood up on damn near everything with four wheels, and in the last few years, I've watched a brand new kind of heartbreak drive into my shop on a flatbed because it couldn't drive in on its own. Owners sitting in my waiting room with their head in their hands holding a repair estimate longer than the loan they still owe. Here's the truth. Nobody at that dealership will say out loud, a whole lot of these luxury electric cars are costing people more to keep alive than they ever paid to bring them home. Not gas, not oil changes, something far bigger, and it hits when the warranty is already cold in the ground. I'm going to show you exactly which failures I've seen with my own two hands and the real dollar amounts that make grown men go pale. And stay with me to the end, because there's one number buried in a reliability survey most owners have never read, a defect figure so high it should be printed on the window sticker. That one number tells you everything. This applies whether you're buying brand new, shopping used, or you're already sitting in the driveway with one of these things, especially if you already own one, because what I'm about to tell you, you can start checking this weekend. Let me take you back to the first one that really shook me. A gentleman drove in maybe 2 years ago in a gorgeous electric luxury sedan, quiet as a church, paint like glass. He bought it used for around $42,000. Thought he got the deal of a lifetime because it stickered near 90 grand when it was new. He was proud. I remember him grinning. Then he told me the dash was throwing a battery warning. I plugged in and my stomach dropped for him because I already knew what that code meant, and I knew he had no idea what was coming. That's when it clicked for me. The whole game had changed. For 100 years, a car got cheaper to own as it got older. You bought it used, you babied it, you got your money's worth. These new luxury EVs flip that rule upside down, and almost nobody buying one understands what they're actually signing up for. So let me pull the curtain all the way back and show you who set this trap and why. Start with the thing they never let you think about on the test drive. The battery pack, that giant slab of cells under the floor, is not a part. It is the car. It can be 60, sometimes 70% of what the whole vehicle is worth. And it wears out. Not if, when. Now, here's where the marketing machine earned its paycheck. They sold you a warranty that sounds bulletproof, 8 years or 100,000 miles, whatever comes first. Sounds generous, right? That's the point. It's designed to sound generous because the people who built these cars know exactly when the real degradation shows up, and a whole lot of it starts creeping in right after that clock runs out. That sedan I told you about, the estimate to replace the pack came in north of $20,000 on a car he paid $42,000 for. Some luxury packs run closer to $30,000, and I've seen quotes flirt with the price of a brand new economy car just for the battery. Not the labor to pull the interior, not the coolant, not the diagnostics, just the slab. He asked me the question they all ask. Can't you just fix the bad part? And on most packs, from most makers, the answer is no. It comes as one sealed unit, one dead module out of dozens, and the whole thing gets condemned. That's not an accident of engineering. That's a choice somebody made in a boardroom. Here's what I want you to check before you ever hand over $1. On any used EV, you need the battery state of health number, not the range estimate on the dash. That lies the actual measured capacity against when it was new. A good independent shop can pull it. If that number's dropped below about 80% and the warranty's near gone, you walk fast, because you're not buying a car. You're adopting a $20,000 bill with a delay timer on it. Now, you'd think a slow battery fade would be the worst of it. I wish it were, because the battery at least gives you warning. The next thing I want to tell you gives you none at all. Let me talk about what happens when one of these gets touched, just touched. A tap in a parking lot, a curb hit a little too hard, a road hazard that would have cost you $200 on a normal car. I had a luxury electric SUV come in, beautiful thing, low miles. Owner clipped something on the highway, underbody damage. right where that battery pack lives. On a gas car, we're talking a skid plate and maybe a bracket. A weekend job, but because that impact was near the pack, the whole car got flagged for a full battery inspection, and the pack itself showed a cracked casing. The insurance adjuster totaled a car that drove into my lot under its own power with barely a dent you could see from 10 feet away, because the fix cost more than the car was worth. And that's happening all over the country. Minor hits, cars written off because the single most expensive component sits in the most vulnerable spot on the whole vehicle, low and flat and exposed. You know who eats that? You do, in your insurance premium. There's a reason quotes on some of these luxury electrics come in shockingly high and climb every renewal. The companies did the math. They know these cars get totaled from damage that wouldn't scratch the paint on your old pickup. They're just passing the fear straight to your wallet. And here's the part that should make you mad. Nobody told that SUV owner any of this when he signed. Nobody mentioned that a low-speed fender bender could end his $60,000 vehicle, because the person selling it to him only had to get him excited about the acceleration and the screen. What happens 2 years later isn't their problem. It becomes mine in my bay, and it becomes yours in your driveway. Therefore, let's talk about the thing you'll feel long before any of that. The thing that starts draining you the very first month, because while you're waiting for the big failures, these cars nickel and dime you in ways gas owners never see coming. Tires, I know, sounds boring. Stay with me, because this one's real money. These luxury EVs are heavy, brutally heavy. That battery slab can add 1,000, even 1,500 pounds over a comparable gas car. All that weight, plus instant torque that hammers the pavement every time you touch the pedal, chews through tires like nothing I've ever seen. I've watched owners come in needing a fresh set at 18, 20,000 miles, and these aren't cheap tires. They're special low rolling resistance, load rated, sometimes foam lined units built specifically for the weight and the noise. A full set on a luxury electric can run you $1,400, $1,600, sometimes more, and you're doing it twice as often as your neighbor with the gas sedan. Do that math over the life of the car. That's thousands of dollars nobody mentioned. And here's the kicker. If you put cheaper regular tires on to save money, you lose range and the ride goes to garbage, because the car was engineered around those exact expensive tires. They've got you either way. Then there's the brakes, and this one surprises people in the other direction. The regenerative braking means you barely use the pads, which sounds great until those rotors sit there for years, barely touched, collecting moisture and rust. I've pulled wheels on these and found rotors so corroded and pitted they had to be replaced on a car with plenty of pad left. Rust never sleeps, even when you're gliding around silent and smooth. So here's your takeaway on the running costs. Before you buy, price out a set of the exact tires that car needs. Look it up, the real number, not the number in your head. Ask how many miles owners are actually getting. If your jaw drops, that's not a surprise cost. That's a known cost. The sales floor just chose not to say. And that right there is the whole game, isn't it? One line item on a repair estimate that nobody warned you about, hiding in plain sight until the bill lands in your lap. That's exactly why I put everything I know into a collection called the Complete Lemon Proof Bundle. It's the full permanent version of what I've been showing you tonight. Inside, you get the reliability matrix that separates the hype from the hard data, brand rankings built on real repair records instead of ad budgets, and a whole guide on reading complaint data the way a safety engineer does, so you spot a bad platform before it ever spots you. Here's something you can do for free this very night. No lift and no scan tool needed. Pull up the free complaint database and the technical service bulletins on the exact car you're eyeing and read them yourself. That claim isn't something you have to take my word for. It's public, it's documented, and it'll tell you more than any salesman ever will. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And the reason to do it before you shop is simple. That repair bill is already waiting on the car you haven't bought yet. and you only get to dodge it before you sign. Now, let me tell you about the failures that don't cost you slowly, the ones that strand you cold on the side of the road. But tires and rotors, that's the stuff you can plan for. What comes next is the stuff that strands you on the side of the road with a fully charged battery in a car that won't move. Let me tell you about the electronics. And I don't mean the battery now. I mean everything else. These luxury EVs are rolling computers, dozens of control modules, miles of wiring, sensors stacked on sensors, and one enormous touchscreen that runs functions that used to be a simple button. I had one come in where the center screen just died, went black, and on that car, the screen wasn't just the radio. It controlled the climate, the defroster, the door settings, even part of how you operated the vehicle. With that screen dead, the car was barely usable and legally questionable to drive because you couldn't clear your own windshield. The replacement with programming ran past $2,000 for a screen. I've seen door handles that retract flush into the body, real slick on the showroom floor, freeze up solid in winter, and lock owners out of their own car. I've seen 12-volt batteries, the little one most people forget an EV even has, die and completely brick the vehicle so it won't even unlock or power up, leaving a $90,000 car as useful as a boulder in the driveway. And the software, these cars need updates like your phone, and when an update goes wrong or a module loses its programming, you're not fixing that in a home garage. You're waiting on the dealer, on parts, on codes, on specialists. I've had these vehicles sit in my shop for weeks, not because the repair was hard, but because getting the right software and the right module from the right place took forever. Now, here's the deeper trap, and this is where you start to see who really designed this. A lot of these repairs, the maker won't let an independent shop like mine even do. The parts are locked. The software is locked. The diagnostics are locked behind their own walls. So when it breaks, you don't get to shop around for a fair price. You go where they tell you, and you pay what they say. That's not a bug. That's the business model. For 100 years, the deal was simple. You bought the car, you owned the car, and you or any honest mechanic could fix the car. That deal is being quietly erased, and most folks won't notice until they're standing at a counter being told the only place that can help them is the same place that profits most from the repair. So let me turn now straight to you if you're already sitting in one of these. If you're watching this with a knot in your stomach because that's your car in the driveway, this next part is for you, and it costs you almost nothing. First thing, find out your battery's true state of health today while you still have leverage. If you're anywhere near the end of that 8-year or 100,000-mile warranty, get it documented now. A lot of makers will only replace a pack for free if the capacity is dropped below a certain line, sometimes around 70%, while you're still covered. Owners lose that coverage by weeks because nobody told them to check. Don't be that person. Get it measured and get it in writing before your clock runs out. Second, baby that battery on purpose. Heat is the enemy. Parking that car in the blazing sun all day, day after day, cooks the cells and speeds up the fade. Park in the shade, park in a garage when you can, and stop charging it to 100% every single night if you don't need the full range. Most of these let you set a daily charge limit. Set it around 80, 90% for normal driving. That one free setting can add years to your pack. The people who charge to full every night and let it bake in the heat are the ones landing in my bay with the dead packs. Third, take care of that little 12-volt battery you forgot you had. That's the one that bricks the whole car when it dies. And it's cheap. Know where it is. Know how old it is. Replace it before it strands you, not after. It's a tiny fraction of what a tow and a lockout will cost you. Fourth, and this one's just smart, keep the software current, but never install a big update the night before a long trip. I've seen updates go sideways and put a car out of commission for days. Do it when you've got time and a backup way to get around. None of that requires my lift or my scan tool. That's you, in your own driveway, taking back a little control. Do those 4 things and you'll outlast a lot of owners who did nothing and paid dearly for it. But even doing everything right, there's one more cost coming for every single one of these owners, and it's the biggest one of all. It's the one that doesn't break. It just bleeds you quietly the whole time you own the car. Depreciation, the value falling out the bottom like a hole in a bucket. I told you about that man with the $42,000 sedan that stickered near 90 when it was new. Think about that for a second. Cut nearly in half in just a few years. That's not unusual for these luxury electrics. It's normal. And when you understand why, you understand the whole trap. Everybody looking at a used one is thinking the same thing you should be thinking. What's the battery going to cost me? So the second that warranty gets close, buyers get scared and prices collapse. Add in that the technology changes so fast, the 3-year-old model already feels ancient next to the new one, and add in that the makers keep cutting prices on brand new units, which drags every used one down with it. You've got a value cliff, not a curve. I watched a fellow try to trade in a luxury electric SUV he'd bought new. He was still making payments. The trade-in offer was so far below what he owed that he was underwater by a number that made him physically sit down. He owed thousands more than the car was worth on a vehicle that ran fine just because the market had decided it was yesterday's news. That's a loss you never see coming because it doesn't announce itself. There's no warning light for depreciation. So here's the hard truth on buying one. If you buy new, you eat the steepest drop in value of almost anything on 4 wheels. If you buy used to dodge that drop, you inherit an aging battery with a repair cost that can total the car. There's a narrow window in the middle, a lightly used one still deep under warranty where it can make sense, but you have to go in with your eyes wide open and that battery health number in your hand. Now, you've been patient with me and you've earned the thing I promised at the start. The one number, the buried figure that ties this whole mess together, straight from a source these companies wish you'd never read. Consumer Reports runs one of the biggest reliability surveys in the country, hundreds of thousands of vehicles, real owners, real problems, year after year. It's not marketing. It's not a paid review. It's the actual dependability data from the people who bought the cars. And when they crunched the numbers on electric vehicles against regular gas cars, they found that full electric vehicles had, on average, around 79% more problems than a conventional gas car. 79% more problems. Let that land. Not a little worse, nearly double the trouble. And the luxury electrics, packed with the most complex tech, the fanciest screens, the trickiest motors and hardware, were some of the worst offenders in the whole study. Plug-in hybrids scored even rougher in some years. The exact vehicles being sold to you as the smart, modern, worry-free future are, by the numbers, among the most problem-prone machines on the road today. And here's why that number stays buried. The advertising for these cars is everywhere, and it's slick, and it's expensive, and it never mentions reliability because it can't. So you get told about 0 to 60 and about saving the planet and about never stopping for gas. You never get told that the survey data, the honest owner reported data, says you're signing up for nearly twice the headaches. That gap between the ad and the survey is the exact gap your money falls into. The truth existed the whole time. It sat right there in the dependability data, published, public, free to read. It just got drowned out by a marketing budget bigger than some small nations. One honest survey kept score while everybody else sold the dream, and now you've got the score before you sign instead of after. So what does the honest mechanic actually tell you to do? I'm not going to sit here and say never buy an electric car. That's not the truth either, and I promised you the truth. Some folks with a home charger, a short commute, and a plan to keep the car well past the loan can make one work just fine. What I'm telling you is this. Go in knowing the battery is the car, and the battery has a price tag that can end the vehicle. Demand the state of health number, price the real tires, check the warranty clock down to the month, and run screaming from any used luxury EV where the seller can't or won't prove that pack is healthy, because the cheapest, most reliable miles I still see rolling through my shop day in and day out past 200,000 miles without drama are not the $90,000 silent wonders. They're the boring, proven, well-kept vehicles that any honest mechanic can actually fix with parts anybody can buy at a price that won't total the whole car. That's not old-fashioned. That's just math that hasn't stopped being true. Here's what I need you to feel as you walk off that lot. You just dodged something. You almost signed for the acceleration and the screen and the quiet, and you almost inherited the battery bill, the tire bill, the depreciation cliff, and nearly double the problems, all hidden behind a smile. You didn't. You stopped, and you learned how the trap is built. That's the difference between the man holding his head in my waiting room and the man who kept his money. You're the kind of driver who refuses to be sold a lemon dressed up as the future. You want the honest number, not the sales pitch, and now you know where to find it and what to ask. You already know what to do the next time a salesman slides that warm key fob into your hand. You ask about the battery, and you watch his face. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me down in the comments. Are you looking at a luxury electric right now, and which one, or have you already got one in the driveway, and what's it cost you so far in tires, in screens, in that battery you're now worried about? Drop it below. Tell me what you drive and what part of the country you're watching from, because I read these, and the stories you all share have saved more buyers than any single video ever could. If this saved you even one bad decision, then you belong with the rest of us who refuse to get burned, who check the numbers before we sign, who trust a scan tool over a sales pitch. Stick around, because the next one I'm working on names the exact 3 used vehicles I'd buy today with my own money to cross 200,000 miles without a major repair, and one of them costs less than a single luxury EV battery replacement. You're going to want to hear that before you shop this weekend. Don't sign anything until you do. Now, this video showed you the warning signs, but inside the Garage Bench Club, I pick up right where we stopped, the pre-purchase battery health check step by step, so you can do it yourself this weekend. And you can ask me your own question, and a real person answers you, not a machine. You'd belong with car buyers just like you already inside. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen, cancel anytime, one click. Now, before you spend a single dollar on your next car, let me show you the 12 most returned new cars in America. Knowing these could save you a world of regret and heartache. It's starting right here.